I, for one, did not realize that The Secret of NIMH is that the book and the movie are different genres. Hello, my name is Jason, and I'm currently obsessed with 80s dark fantasy, so I'm trying to consume as much of it as possible. And this past week, I decided to read Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of NIMH, and then watch The Secret of NIMH. And my goodness, we have some differences to discuss. Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of NIMH by Robert C. O'Brien came out in 1971. And it is essentially the story of Mrs. Frisby, a mother mouse who is trying to save her children from impending doom. So she ends up enlisting the help of some fellow animals, including the Rats of NIMH, who are essentially a colony of rats who were scientifically altered so they are much smarter than normal rats. Now, The Secret of NIMH, directed by Don Bluth, came out in 1982. And story premise-wise, it's very similar. Other than the fact, of course, that Mrs. Frisby's name was changed to Mrs. Brisby to avoid legal troubles with actual Frisbees. I'm not even kidding, that's why they changed the name. However, The Secret of NIMH is a dark fantasy movie, whereas Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of NIMH is much more of a science fiction tale. The book is 231 pages, and a solid third of that is dedicated to chronicling the rats' time in NIMH. We see the rats getting injections, going through different tests, even learning how to read. We then get to see the rats as they tackle the moral dilemmas of higher thinking beings. What does a good society look like, and what kind of society do they want to build together? And not all of them share the same opinions, which is what causes Jenner, one of the rats, to break away with some of his followers to go do their own thing. And it all plays into this really interesting look at societal structures. The movie does away with all of that in favor of a bunch of fantasy elements that aren't really explained all that well. Nicodemus is this old, sagely Jedi type character, whereas in the book he's more mature, but still a very competent, able-bodied leader. Mrs. Brisby inherits a magical amulet from her late husband. And of course, Jenner appears much more prominently as he ends up being a very classic cartoon villain. Obviously, I love the deeper, more methodical, more thought-provoking version of this story found in the book, but that does come at the cost of a fairly slow-paced story. I actually found this to be the darker of the two versions because it feels so much more real that everything feels that much more haunting. The movie, on the other hand, is visually stunning. There are several action sequences added to the movie that I thought were really fun to watch, and descending into the rats' homeland is a feast for the eyes. Unfortunately, I have a really hard time getting around the fact that they turned this book into a fantasy story and then sort of refused to do any world building around those fantasy elements. How did scientific testing give rats magical powers? And why does it seem that only some of the rats have these magical powers? Where did this amulet that literally saves the day come from? Why does it do what it does? At the end of the day, a lot of these magical elements are a lot of fun to watch and great visually for kids, but as an adult watching it, the film is just riddled with plot holes that were clearly caused by changing the genre of the book. Now, I can already hear some of you angrily typing away that I'm ruining your childhood, but wait a second, I did enjoy my time with both the book and the movie. I found the book to be really captivating and philosophical, and I found the movie's animation to be a joy to watch. But the point of this little series is to analyze things from the past in a hopefully fun and interesting way. And what I discovered this time around is that, for me, the book was better. Maybe you like the movie more, and that's okay. Listen, hold my hand. It's okay that we have different opinions. It's okay. Have you read Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of NIMH? Have you seen The Secret of NIMH? And what are your thoughts on either or both? And what dark fantasy movie, book, or game do you think I should check out next? Let me know in the comments.